Hello, everybody, and welcome to the interview portion of the Novelizers. I am Kevin Carter, and I am here with Jonathan Glaser, who is the Dirtometer for the movie, or was the Dirtometer for the movie Dirty Dancing. Jonathan, how's it going today?
It's going okay. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying I have no clue what a dirtometer is. I'm thinking it's somebody who monitors dirt, but can you explain to the audience what a dirtometer is?
Yeah, of course. This is a job that was created specifically for the film, and I'm not sure if there's been a person who's done this before or since.
Hmm.
They needed to, they wanted someone when you have a film called Dirty Dancing.
Hmm.
The dancing has to be dirty, right?
Yeah.
And so they wanted and needed someone on set at all times for the dance scenes to make sure the dancing was dirty. And there was a fine line there. They didn't want it to be too dirty, and they didn't want it to be what I called like under dirty. And so I would be on set during all the scenes to let them know if it was either dirty enough, too dirty, or not dirty enough, etc. So that was basically my job.
Okay, so what would you say is an example of under dirty and an example of too dirty?
Sure. So if it's under dirty, it's just not dirty enough, where it's like we would want to push it a little bit, like
Hmm.
maybe a hand grazing a tush, maybe a hand
Hmm.
sort of nuzzling the side of a breast, which we saw, of course,
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
Patrick brought his hand down next to Jennifer and kind of grazed her,
Yeah, just with the
you
back of
know.
the hand. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and what I like to, I sometimes say titty and people don't like that, and so I'll try to say breast. But if it
Yeah.
was, and I would be off camera just yelling like dirtier, not dirty enough, and they would just
Hmm.
edit that out in post. The sound guys did a great job of editing my voice out because I was really, and I'm going to go off mic for this. I was
Hmm.
offset like dirtier, dirtier, less dirty, and I was screaming,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
we had a lot of rehearsals so the actors would be used to that and
Yeah.
not be distracted while they were dancing. But
Okay.
it all worked out. I think it worked out great and it translated on screen.
That's very good. I noticed that, like you said, you were using words like for this interview here, you're saying tush and breast and everything like
Mhm.
that. Um, when it comes to the way you were yelling at them, were you saying tush and breast on set, or was it more of a titty and ass thing on set to really get them in the zone?
It would depend. That's a really good question, actually.
Hmm.
If it was a dirty dancing scene, I might say, instead of tush, I might say ass, I might say
Hmm.
onion, I might say rump, I might say,
Hmm.
just like grab that shit, and, squeeze that fucking thing. And, it was
Hmm.
obviously not an R-rated film.
Yeah.
But, again, like I'm watching for, I want to make sure there's no boners that we can see in a pant,
Yeah.
the wardrobe, a lot of, cool jeans for the Dirty Dancing crew. But, we don't want to see I don't want to see a rock hard, I don't know if I can
Yeah.
say dick on this podcast. You can bleep it out.
I mean, once you say titty and ass, I think dick is okay.
What about cock?
I mean, we can if anyone has an issue with it, we can refer it to the chicken. So I think we'll still be okay.
Do you say that again? Refer it.
We to it like a chicken or like a rooster or something. So
Oh, oh,
if it's
oh,
okay,
I
yeah,
see. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, we can say if that's a shorthand, yeah, when the audience hears me say cock, they know I'm
hmm,
talking about a dick and not a rooster, but we can just
exactly,
pretend it's a rooster.
exactly.
Yeah, so, I'm just making sure no one's, for example, like one of the like the obviously the famous scene where Patrick lifts her up at
Hmm.
the end and all the,
Hmm.
one of the original ideas the director had was to have Patrick hold her up with his penis, with his erect penis. That was going to be the
That was
thing.
the original idea.
That was the original
Okay.
idea because again, it was Dirty Dancing, and the original
Hmm.
script was very explicit and very dirty, it bordered on an X-rated film,
Gotcha.
and they had to
Gotcha.
tone it way down. So, that was my job, just to make sure there was nothing. It had to strike a fine line and a really good balance to make sure it
Yeah.
was dirty. And obviously everyone's interpretation of what dirty is different, and we struck a specific tone.
Yeah, and that was my biggest thing too. We talk about Dirty Dancing. This movie came out in the '80s and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and it was like dirty in the '80s is not dirty in the 2000 in the dub dubs. It's in the 2020s and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
So my thing is because it seems like your job is to limit what the possibility of this this movie is, right? Like, so we're using the word dirty, but to me, watching the movie almost 30 years later, I didn't see nothing dirty about it. So was
Well,
in the eight at the time you were doing it, was that considered dirty? Like truly dirty?
well, it was also there's two things at play here, and that's
Hmm.
another really good question. So not only this film was made in the 80s, but of course it's taking place in the 60s.
Got you.
And so what's the interpretation of dirty back then? Like this is stuff,
Mm,
and of course, it's also, there's a lot of what we consider dirty, what we think maybe people considered dirty in the '60s is maybe dirtier, and
hmm.
so we tried to keep that in mind where it wasn't too nasty,
Yeah,
even though that shit was going on in the
yeah,
'50s, and the '60s, and the
yeah.
'40s, and the '30s, and even the '20s. Like
Hmm.
I would personally love to see a version of Dirty Dancing that takes place in the 1920s. Like that would be
Yeah,
great. And then I'd
yeah,
love to even see a very futuristic version, like a post-apocalyptic Dirty Dancing, where maybe people are turning to dancing and even turning to dirty dancing to forget their troubles. So
yeah,
there's a lot of ways you can view this film,
yeah.
which I think is a really also cool way to look at it.
Yeah, you really just blew my mind with the whole post-apocalyptic thing. Like I can really see like a Mad Max type of Dirty Dancing film where it's like they're literally dirty, so they're out there dancing and stuff. So that'd
Oh,
be
I
nice.
like yeah, that's a really interesting notion, not one I'd thought of, like, just people that are filthy, they haven't showered,
Yes.
there's no resources, it's like The
Hmm.
Walking Dead.
Exactly.
I wanna see the more of the reality of, there's no running water, people stink, they're
Yes.
filthy, how do they deal with that? And then on top of it, they're trying to dance.
They're trying to dance. Exactly. And then do ballroom dancing on top of that.
Yeah,
And just in dirt, just ballroom dancing. I would really love that. Would love to see that.
yeah,
Um, question
and
for
also
you.
just sorry to
Oh,
back it up,
no, go
and
ahead.
just to see, like, a dirty cock. What's that going to be like if you actually see a dirty cock or a dirty pussy, which we can say to be a cat? So we're talking about roosters and
Yeah,
cats.
yeah, yes, roosters and
And
cats. Yes, roosters
how
and
does that
cats.
affect it?
Hmm.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. I like that roosters and cats. Now a lot of people who's done these interviews, they've always talked about people who were like castmates or actors and actors who were difficult to work with or very easy to work with. Did you have anybody like that in the show, in the movie, that was either difficult or easy to work with when it comes to that dirty meter and you can try to get them in that right position?
Everybody was pretty open to what we were trying to do.
Okay.
And, I wouldn't say there was no one that sticks out. I mean, listen, people were just willing to get nasty, and that was kind of fun. And, we're talking about theater people. They're
Yeah.
open minded.
Hmm.
Usually, you've obviously got some people that are not, but this was, people coming into this job knew what they were signing up for and they wanted it, man.
Hmm.
And, a lot of the stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor was, it was raunchy, man. Like we had some really, and I'll say this, one of the people that was the most enthusiastic and ironically was playing someone that was not was Jerry Orbach. Like he just wanted to get
Hmm.
down and dirty.
Really?
And yeah, he sat in on all the rehearsals,
Yeah.
kept pitching ideas. He's like, "What if I like, you make me one of the dirty dancers?" That's a terrible Jerry Orbach impression.
Hmm.
He's like, "What if you kind of do one of the like give me a mustache and a wig and some sunglasses?" Like he was constantly pitching ideas to just be in those scenes just
Hmm.
so he could dirty dance on film. He did it
Yeah.
all the time in his trailer,
Hmm.
and I always felt, I was all for that idea. He was so into it and he just had to play the opposite, but God, he really and he let me just say I don't want to get graphic or speak out of turn, but he really enjoyed himself in those rehearsals.
When you say enjoyed himself, like he just had
He
a good time.
he really got into the dirty dancing. Like
Okay, okay.
he was a guy that was like the dirtier the better. Whenever
Mhm.
I would say it's too dirty, he's like not dirty enough. What are you talking about? He was always and not in a way that we would get in arguments. He
True.
just was always there and really wanted to push. He wanted to
So,
push it. So he always was wanting it to be dirtier.
yeah, so if you needed him to do something, he was ready to do it.
Oh, for sure. He was ready to throw down at any moment. And again, he wanted to be in these scenes so bad. And it was
Mhm.
kind of tough for him, I think, not doing it. And of course, having to play the uptight dad and not
Yeah.
wanting his daughter to go with that group. And it was the opposite. In real life, he was
Yeah.
just a wild man.
Yeah, okay, that's good because watching the movie as an adult, it was like I can't imagine a life where the dad is upset that he don't want his daughter to hang out with other ballroom dancers. The thought of that just was just very weird. So I'm glad he was the complete opposite offset. So
Yeah.
that's good to hear.
Yeah, he was a cool dude, man, and also like a really good basketball player. We played a lot of just half court. We had a good half court set up
Hmm.
on the set, for in between lunch breaks and
Yeah,
when people weren't working, and he could play ball, man. He was a
he looks
cool
like he's
dude.
tall though. He got to be like 6'2", right? 6'2".
He's a big dude. I think he might even be 6'4".
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he
Uh,
looked tall.
and he could handle the ball pretty well, and he was
Hmm.
just like, again, like he was a guy that just great actor, great guy, loved to play ball and just wanted to fuck. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah. That's and I mean, in that back in the day, that's what else was there? You know what I'm saying? You're already an actor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So what else
they're
is there? That makes perfect
they're
sense.
they're theater people. They're
Yeah,
theater
exactly.
people.
That's
And
exactly what theater people do.
he was a cool dude, man. Jerry
Yeah,
Orbach was
yeah,
just what a great, just God, everyone loved him. Just
yeah.
loved him.
So
He was probably the dirtiest.
yeah,
I
but
and
based
I
on the
mean and I
story,
mean that as a compliment.
so the term dirtometer, it seems like a very niche position. Like this position you have is only for this movie
Right.
ever. Um, how did you get to having this job on the set? Like what was life like before the movie that led to this moment?
I was a dog walker for years, and I love dogs. I
Hmm.
enjoy doing that. I still do that quite a bit. And one of my clients was working on the film, told me about it, and I just said, "Oh, that sounds cool. Like, how dirty is the dancing going to be? Like, what does that mean?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know. I guess we have to figure that out." And I just said, "Oh, I'd love to help. Like, I've got a pretty good eye for that." And long story short, I got the job. I just got brought
Hmm.
on by a buddy, and again, it was a job we created for the film for me. And once the film was over, there really, I tried getting other jobs and other films that had dancing in it, but
Hmm.
it was never about dirty, less
Yeah,
dirty, whatever. So again, it
yeah.
was a very, very specific job that I had for that film, and
Hmm.
I'm waiting for the call if anyone ever does a movie where there's something that where they have to figure out
Yeah.
how far can they push it. Maybe I'll get that call, but
Hmm.
I'm not
No
holding out.
problem. So, so when it comes to life outside of that, are you back to dog walking now, or is it something else going on?
I do a lot of dog walking. I just really love dogs. I'll still, sometimes I'll put on the film and just pretend I'm on set. I know
Hmm.
that sounds weird and maybe a little sad, but it's tough. I wish there was more films about dirty
Yeah,
dancing or that would
yeah,
have dirty dancing scenes in it. I'd love to get back into that world, but I'm also pretty content walking dogs.
yeah. So, and I see that, and it seems like you have the type of mindset and the lifestyle of, you know what I'm saying. Hey, if it happens, it happens. You know,
Yeah.
I did it. I rode the wave, and I'm good now. Um,
Yeah, and I'd also say quality over quantity. I don't need to do 1,000 films to that have dirty dancing in it. I did
True.
the one truly iconic Dirty Dancing
Yeah,
film, literally called Dirty Dancing, and if
yeah.
that's all I ever got to do, I mean, that's pretty great.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm being honest, like if I'm being honest right now, the post-apocalyptic one sounds amazing. Like that should really happen. It should really happen.
I agree, and listen, I'll just say this in case there's Hollywood people listening. It's a
Hmm.
screenplay I've been working on.
Hmm.
I have a two-thirds of a rough draft of it. I think it's really cool. It
Really?
right out of the gate, it starts off with a Dirty Dancing scene.
Yeah.
We see, like there's you see a lot of missiles raining from the sky, mushroom
Hmm.
clouds, just really a nuclear apocalypse, and then from that we see these people dancing and they're filthy, and that's how the movie starts. It's much more than that, but that's a general idea, and then from there it's just tons of dirty dancing. It's
This
just,
is this is
what else
this
is
is
there to
almost
do?
like, but this like you don't understand like this like the what you're saying right now is very like in my brain
Hmm.
because I write screenplays as well. And
Oh wow.
I was writing one literally called Dirty Dancing as well. However, it was spelt like how Nelly says dirty, and it was going to be like a hip hop. like a Hamilton hip hop
Ooh.
musical, but it was called Dirty Dancing, spelled like how they used to do it in St. Louis. But it was kind of on
Oh.
the same thing.
You know, when you just said that, when you said it was called Dirty Dancing as well,
Hmm.
I thought that was the full title, Dirty Dancing as well,
Oh,
which I think is a great
yes,
title. You know,
yes,
because I'm sure people have had ideas for a sequel called like Dirtier Dancing
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
more more Dirty
yeah.
Dancing or
Hmm.
something like that. But I like Dirty Dancing as well is a
Hmm.
really intriguing title to me at least because it
Yeah,
feels like what does that mean?
exactly. Because it feels like the movie's going to be about other stuff, but then there's Dirty Dancing as well. Like there's other things
Yeah.
happening, but there's also Dirty Dancing too.
Well, I think the story in Dirty Dancing is so compelling, and obviously people love the love story and the story with the family, but also just I wouldn't mind just 70 to 90 minutes of just Dirty Dancing,
Yeah,
and that's it.
like
And
nothing else happening.
I don't even know if you need it,
True.
where it's just you can tell the story through the dance and
Hmm.
through the dirty dance, I would even say.
Hmm.
So dancing as a form of storytelling, it's an old art form.
Yep.
But dirty dancing as a form of storytelling is, I think, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, my version was gonna it gave me very like the hip hop Nutcracker vibes, where it's like they're
Oh,
break dancing, but it's just to music, no words. And it's just break dancing through music, but it's just called Dirty Dancing, and they break dancing to Nelly albums and stuff. So
I'd love to see even like that makes me think of like just the dirty versions of stuff, like the dirty Nutcracker, uh, dirty, on dirty Golden Pond.
yes,
That's just one that popped to my head.
yeah,
I
hmm,
would love to see just Dirty Dancing get put in more films. I think
yeah,
people clearly love it. There's an audience for it.
hmm.
And so maybe this interview will give rise to more Dirty Dancing in films and get me a little more of that work. And but
I
again,
hope
I
so.
love dogs and I love walking dogs. I'm happy,
Hmm.
I'm content, but I got what I think is a great screenplay and just needs a chance.
And this
Needs a
is, and
chance.
like I said, this is good conversation. This is why the interviews are important because the listener is going to hear this. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to see what's going on because I've never had an able to talk to another screenwriter. I've never had the chance to do that. And just the way we're building and vibing right now, it just seems like it's just a matter of time this is going to happen, you know?
Yeah, when you think about how when people's paths converge.
Hmm.
And listen, if nothing else, honestly, and this is just me, I'm just this type of person. Like, if it happens for me, great. And if not, even if this interview inspired someone out there to just be less inhibited and be more dirty and maybe just try dirty dancing and it just kind of helps them open up as a person
Exactly.
even spiritually.
Yeah.
Dirty dancing can also be a mindset. You don't have to
Hmm.
literally or figure it or literally dirty dance.
Exactly.
Dirty dancing can be
It's in here.
a frame of mind and
It's in
how you
here.
go through the world and how
Yeah.
you respond to people.
Yeah.
And so I also like that aspect of it. And again, knowing it maybe helped one person, that also makes me feel good.
That's good. I can definitely. There's definitely been moments in my life where I'm just. I feel like I'm just going through life, and if I had the mindset of nope, I think now's the time to dirty dance. You know, so now's the time to dirty dance and go for that promotion. You know, so this is time to dirty dance. I think I'd have been a little bit further. You know, than where I am now. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, find inspiration wherever you can.
Hmm. Um, like how was life? Like growing up for you? Because it seems like you had this great idea when it comes to monitoring dirty dancing and things like that, but I still feel like there's more to, like you immediately just said I'll do it. I'll do that. I'll judge the dirtiness. And it
Hmm.
seems like there's already something within you that can already look and kind of notice what's too dirty and what's not dirty, even whether it's dancing, porn, whatever it is. You like this ain't dirty enough. This is too dirty. Was that something you was always able to like? You were just a gauger. You just gauged a lot of things growing up. Was there anything like that?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. I don't know. I guess I always felt like because even when I got the job, like again, I'm a dog
Mhm.
walker. I was talking to my buddy who was working on it, and this was just a simple question for me. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess now that you asked that question, I'm trying to think. Like maybe I did. Like I don't recall ever feeling like like the dog's too dirty you know or my parents telling me I was too dirty. You have to clean.
Mhm.
Although now I'm thinking like my parents made me bathe twice a day every day. Now I'm even like wondering if this is becoming like a de facto, therapy session
Yeah,
where I'm
like
really
let
thinking
me
about
there's a little
myself.
trauma there, Maybe he's doing too much cleaning, and now it's like you realize, hey, this is too much. I have a meter now within my life and within my brain. I have an internal meter. What's too much and what's not enough.
Man, I'm like really sitting here just going through like the Rolodex in my mind of just
Yeah,
like my childhood, and I'm
yeah.
starting to.
It's a healing session as well. Like these interviews, they can go anywhere. They can take us anywhere. We've covered a lot. Sometimes it's okay to just sit back and reflect on. What I'm saying, because I think what this does is it helps you do more screenwriting and hone in on that script for that one third that's left over from the
I'm just
script. It
like
may change some things.
I'm just remembering things that I wish I hadn't remembered.
Oh, I didn't mean
And
that. I didn't
no,
mean
no,
the.
no, no. I know you didn't mean to, but just
Okay.
from this conversation, like I'm
Yeah.
just like this is all of a sudden like I just thought it was a thing that again, I'm a dog walker. My buddy was on the film. I'm like, oh, what about this? And I got this job, and now I'm like, I never thought about why am I good at this? You know what I'm saying? And now that you asked that question, it made me start to wonder, and I'm putting some things together in a way
Yeah.
that I never have before.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is a. I mean, I was gonna say I might have to call. I might have to call my parents after this
Yeah.
and ask some
Have a little talk with them. Yeah.
questions
Hmm.
about. Oh my God.
Yeah, like I said, it's okay. I had the same kind of revelation even with this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Doing all these interviews, and I was like, I'm getting pretty good at interviews and everything like that. But I had to look back in my life, and I realized, oh, I'm only good at this because I'm nosy. I'm just a nosy person. Growing up, I was always in somebody's business. I never knew how to mind my own business. So now, what I'm saying, it was just learning that, understanding where I came from, to help build this and being okay with being nosy and always in people's business.
It just seemed like 2 baths a day seemed normal to me. It never
Yeah,
seemed. I didn't know anything else, and I still do it. And I didn't even make that connection
yeah,
until right now. And now I'm wondering, just there's other things that I'm starting like, oh, but then this, and then my parents did
mhm,
this, and then I started doing this, and maybe and when you go through life wondering why am I like this, and I never
yeah,
thought about it other than, oh, this is just my job. I can tell
yeah.
them what's too dirty and what's not, and I never thought about why I was able to. This is just.
Yeah, I'm glad, but I'm sorry as well. I didn't mean to, saying rock your world like that.
Oh no, I'm
It's
not.
just
I
it's just
don't.
an interview.
No, no, I get it. I'm not mad at you. I don't blame you for anything. Again, I agree. We're just talking, and
Yeah,
through this conversation, I'm starting to realize some things that are kind of tough. And honestly, I'm. This might be hard for me moving forward, but I'm also glad to be maybe. I'm just my mind's blown right now.
yeah.
This
I
is kind of
apologize.
like,
Yeah,
no, believe me, don't apologize. If anything,
yeah,
I'm sort of feeling grateful that my mind's blown. Like
yeah,
I'm like so much childhood shit's coming up
yeah.
about like here's why when you
This,
go through life and you're like, why am I like this? Why do I do this?
yeah.
And you can't figure things out, and then you just accept it.
And then out of nowhere,
And
boom, something happens. Yeah. This might be the reason why you like dogs so much. Who knows? You may not even really like dogs. It's just you just been conditioned
I
to
love
like dogs
dogs.
for some reason.
I love dogs.
Oh, that's
I
that's
don't.
not a that's not a trauma thing. You
I
love
don't.
dogs.
I don't ever want that questioned. And it's not. There's nothing untoward there. I don't. It's not anything other than I love dogs. It's no. There's nothing sexual. There's nothing weird. That's not
Yeah,
what I mean. I'm
you
just
you just
saying,
love
like,
dogs.
never question my passion for animals. That's something I will not waver on.
Yeah, not a problem.
I don't want that questioned.
Okay, and we could take that we can remove that from the interview because I don't even want people to think you don't love dogs. So I
That's your
respect
guys'
that. I
call.
respect that. I
I
respect
don't,
that.
I know editing is a tough craft, and you
Yeah,
got to make various choices, and if
yeah,
you think it serves the story, you can leave it in.
hmm,
If anything, I almost feel like maybe it's, a more compelling. I don't know. I'm just, I'm
yeah,
really thrown for a loop right now because so many things are going through my mind from childhood and things that I gotta like. I'm gonna have to ask some tough questions to my parents. I'm gonna have to ask some tough questions to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like fucked up, man. I'm really, and
Yeah.
again, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at
Hmm.
anyone, at least not yet.
Yeah.
And I'm just fucking stunned right now because I'm putting two and two together for the first time as a middle-aged man,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's fucking weird. Whoa.
Well, yeah, so I understand, you know what I'm saying? Things is, you know, you got a lot going on right now this second, but we're going to have to stop this interview now. And I hate that just on a cliffhanger like that, but we have other things to do. So I want to
Wow.
thank Mr. Jon Glaser for being here today for the Novelizers. Thank you a lot for joining us today.
Listen, thank you for having me, and thank you for helping me with make this unintentional breakthrough. I might end up being extremely grateful.
Yeah, hopefully we might never know. We will see if you
Hold on
come
a
back
second.
and
Hold on
all
a
right.
second. Get down from there. Sorry, my dog is jumping up on the counter. Get down. No. Sorry. Well, this is good timing to go anyway because he's
Yeah, that
getting
sounds like real
attention.
love. That sounds like real love.
Well, it's tough love sometimes, but listen, you
Tough love.
can't. Dogs can't jump on the counter. They have dirty paws.
Yeah,
Um. Oh, it'll
dirty
come down.
paws. You're under even that. You know, you're measuring it out. The dirty thing.
Oh
It's
my
pretty
god.
cool. It's
Well,
all around you. It's all around you.
a lot of connections
A lot
today.
of connections. Well, this has been the Novelizers. Please enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
All right. Thank you. Down. Get down. No. No.